Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode number 20 in our Oxygen Included Redux series. As you can see, I have dismantled what I have affectionately started calling my soda bottle rocket. It was the tiniest little rocket, and it was great. Got no more across to Gargani, and it's never going to get used again because it's too small. I have started designing a slightly upgraded version. What I would really like to do is go straight into petroleum engine. But I have to do some research to unlock petroleum engine, which means I need an orbital data collection lab. And so I have a couple of options for that. I could build this. In here I have an orbital data collection lab. Or I could build a rocket. Let's see. Using steam engine or a sugar engine. Sugar engine is sucrose powered. The steam engine obviously steam powered. I don't want to deal with making steam for the steam engine. Did that in the last playthrough. Not trying to deal with it. So I'm going to use the carbon dioxide engine since I have a ton of carbon dioxide. It'll get me up into orbit. It'll let me do some research and it'll make things work. Next problem I had to solve. Let's go in here and take a look at our rocket. I got everything in here pretty well set up. If you look at our room overlay, I have a washroom, which gives you +2 morale. There's a plumbed wall toilet. There is a hand sanitizer, which counts as a plumbed wash station. So that's a washroom. This is the barracks. Could put 2 duplicates in here. Probably will only have 1, but I figured why not fit in a ladder bed in case I decide to add 2. I have some statues in here that I need to get done before we take off. They're just for decor. This room's a mess hall. Got a mess table. None of these count as industrial equipment, so we're good to go there. That gives us +3. So the duplicate in space, we get 6. He uses these doors as his ladder to get up and down, which works. And there's a ladder here to get up to here. The problem I'm having is I managed to squeeze in power. On the rocket, we have a solar panel. Solar panel gets a lot of power from the sunlight. You can see it's climbing up in power right now. There's nowhere to go with it. Inside here, there's a battery that's full of power. Nothing in here is really using power at the moment. It comes out here. I have it running all the way around to get to the battery. That's how it worked. And then the issue is I have a refrigerator here, and my initial thought was I'd power the refrigerator from the battery. But you can see this is in the middle of the day when my solar panel is getting as much power as it's going to get. Inside here, our battery, our battery's maintaining, but it's barely able to keep up with it. So as soon as nighttime comes around, that refrigerator is going to drain all the power straight out of our battery. And the next day the solar panel won't be able to keep up with it. So I'm going to let it run here for a while just so we can see what happens when nighttime comes around. But the thought was I would be able to just put in a barbecue or something, and it would last long enough that we could get our orbital data done. But it's not going to do that. So then my next thought was I'll make berry sludge. Well, the problem is that since I didn't save anything, I don't have any sleet wheat grain on either colony. So I would have to wait until I got sleet wheat out of the printing pod, which I will do because I do want to get sleet wheat, but it's gonna take time. So then my next thought was to look and see what kind of food to do, and so we have a couple options. We could do grub fruit preserves, or we could do pickled meal. So if I do pickled meal, it'll last for 32 cycles, which is long enough to get some research done. Then we'll bring the rocket down. We can refill it up with food. So that's the plan. Which means I need to build meal ice farm. Now I have a couple options. I've been trying to keep all my farms on Gorgani, but Gorgani's having a hard enough time keeping enough polluted water to run these farms. Only polluted water it has is from here, and then occasionally some from up here, but not really, because this stuff barely runs. I still have to fix that. Thought I did. Yes. Let's pump out all this ethanol that got in there by mistake. That was while this was still cooling down, I believe. I hope I don't still have heat spikes causing problems in there. So yeah, the polluted water is, we don't have a ton of it here. And so we need polluted water to run the meal ice. And I don't want to send polluted water over because I'm already sending regular water over. I could send polluted water over instead and then have a sieve that cleans it for the bathrooms. I don't want to deal with all that. So I think I'm just going to build, for now, our meal ice farm here on the main colony. Probably put it right next to this one, so we already have the polluted water running there. On the other side here, build a little meal ice farm. I don't need a ton of it, so let's do that right now. We'll just mirror this one. It's pretty simple to do. And then we can just take this polluted water and we'll split it off to go this way as well. And then once that's built, we'll be able to put meal ice in there. Temperature here are going to be okay. We're going to be okay. We can take this pipe here and run it across. Mealwood grows from a mealwood seed. It needs between 10 to 30 degrees. We probably wouldn't need to run the cooling loop over. So we'll get some meal ice made here, and then we'll get to make pickled meal. We'll get this set up, and we'll have food that lasts for 32 cycles. Did some testing. Even though at nighttime we lose all the power, battery is enough to keep up with our refrigerator. I don't know if that'll be true when we turn on our orbital data collection lab, but this only uses 20 watts of power when it's an energy saver. The problem with using the barbecue is barbecue, even if I put it in the fridge, loses 8% per cycle for being in a normal atmosphere. So which means that instead of 20 cycles, which still isn't great, it would only last for about 8 cycles with that and the debuff for being refrigerated instead of unrefrigerated. So pickled meal is the way we're gonna have to go. So I have a mealwood farm going. We come down here. Just need to copy these over to the last two. I also set it up, and it's getting built now, to have an auto sweeper that picks up the mealwood after it grows and put it into our storage. Storage brings the mealwood, drops it off at the grill. The grill is set to make pickled meal forever. That gets thrown in here, which goes into our deep freeze, and then that comes out here, where I have added pickled meal as one of the options, so that we can store a couple kilograms of it, and it'll get carried up to our rocket. So once all that's done, we'll have pickled meal stored in our rocket. The other thing I set up is an apothecary, where Pierce, since he's our doctor, can make basic rad pills. I actually want to do 99. We'll just let it go. So then back in our rocket, rad pills, I don't think the rad pills can be stored in here. I think they need to go into a refrigerator. They do. So we're going to set those to go in there as well. And we're going to set this to the max. We'll just let rad pills and pickle meal fill this fridge up. When we're done, that means that we'll have food that will last about 30 cycles, hopefully. And we will have rad pills so that our rocket pilot and take a rad pill every day. And we'll be able to go up and run our orbital data collection. The goal is to get petroleum rockets done and then bring them back down. We'll see if that works out. It's perfect. This is keeping our oxalate nice and stored. It's keeping this room filled with oxygen. That works so much better than I expected it to. So we just gotta wait for our pickled meal to get made and for our rad pills to get made, and then we can get ready to launch our next rocket. We have gotten our rocket ready to go. Checklist is complete, except for boarding our pilot. We're going to switch this to crew. We're going to go inside. And we want to set... Cancel this sweep because I don't need it at the moment. We're going to set Garfield to this table and Garfield to this cot. Because he's going to be our pilot for the time being. What we need to do, let's speed it up so that we can get the pilot in here. Should be headed in because I set it to crew only. There he is. So I want you to take that suit off. Let's see, what's his... He can get to everything he needs to. That's good. Let's do a quick checklist. We have plenty of oxygen in here. We have a way to get rid of carbon dioxide in here. We have plenty of food. We have radiation tablets. 70 of them. So we should be set to go into space for quite a bit. So let's go out here and put this on slow. I want to watch the launch again. Begin launch sequence. So I set the destination just to put him into orbit around Ideolius. Let's view interior. Oh, I need to unpause it. Silly me. Okay. So that was a real quick flight. He's getting ready to go. Oh no, I forgot to turn off the gantries. Gonna have some damage to repair. Not a big deal though. There it goes. And then we are gonna go check in here. We want to set so these data banks are used out of the virtual planetarium to unlock new technology, but they can only be made while you're in orbit. So I brought along enough plastic to make a ton of them, but our limit, I think, here is going to be, we have plenty of water, keep things going, we have plenty of oxygen, we have radiation pills for 70 days, so he won't get too high of radiation. I think our limit is going to be how many days he can live off this food. And I don't know that it's going to last as long as I hope, because food is going to be spoiling. Now, the pickled meal is only losing 2% per cycle, which means that the ones that are 100% fresh will last for 50 cycles if we can manage to go that far. So we're going to let him do his thing. We'll keep an eye on him. Hopefully get quite a bit of data banks done in the process. So I'm going to turn on... Let's put a monitor for data bank. Let's put a monitor for pickled meal, even though we have one in the top corner. And let's put a monitor for oxalate. And let's put a monitor for rad pills. So now, at a glance, we can look and see how we're doing here when we come back into the into the orbital capsule, and we'll just let things keep going. So pretty much all he has to do in here is make databanks and sleep and eat, and that's it. Go to the bathroom. So we'll just let him go, see what he's doing. While we're waiting on that, we'll get this repaired. Let's make this a high priority so that we can get it open before we bring that rocket back down. And do need to set up some automation to do that. We should look into setting up our virtual planetarium. So, the virtual planetarium consumes databanks. Room requirements class is science building. So we don't need this to be in any particular place, so I think we should put this with our other research stations. And then we can have somebody start doing some research for us so we can move on to our next step. What we should do is, since our researcher who we sent is currently up in the space capsule, we should pick another researcher. Let's do it with him. I think that's going to be our best option. So we're going to let this get built. We're going to let our research go, and we'll keep an eye on our space capsule and see how things are going. And once we get some research done, we'll start actually using, or once we get some data banks made, we'll actually start using it to do our research. I do want to check real quick before we step away. We do have 161 data banks right now that we still haven't used. So once we get this built, we'll be able to do some research beforehand. So let's check out our research. What we have next that we want to research is right here. So yeah, we're going to let this go and see how our research goes, and we'll get some more data banks made before we bring our astronaut back home. I almost made a crucial mistake, but I caught it, and I wanted to show you. I had set our consumables so that our duplicants could not use the basic rad pills while they were on the surface. When I moved Garfield up here, I set it so that he could eat the pickled meal, but I forgot to set it so he could eat the rad pills. So what would have happened if that was the case is he would not have gotten this debuff or buff where he loses 100 rads per cycle, and his radiation would have continued to grow. So right now his absorbed rads are at 49, but they're going down by 100 every cycle. So he's getting exposed to 81 each cycle, and he's rejuvenating 100 each cycle, which means at the end of the day, it'll be a net loss on rads, so he'll stay nice and healthy. If I hadn't done that, then after just a few cycles, he would have reached the point where he was having radiation sickness and he wouldn't have been able to do any work. He is set to be able to eat the pickled meal. I want to double check that to make sure I didn't miss that. Garfield is allowed to eat pickled meal. He has access to it. So when it's time for him to reach his dinner time, he should be okay. I want to check his schedule. I have him on... Where's Garfield? Here's Garfield. So he's coming up on his downtime in just a very small amount of time. So I just wanted to watch to make sure that when that comes along, he goes up, sits at the mess table, and eats his food. Should be any moment. He's just plugging away, working it all out. This little device is pretty neat. I like the animation for it. Okay, it's dinner time. You're gonna go use the bathroom first. That should also help him with his radiation. Because every time he uses the bathroom, he loses rads. Looks like his exposure is also going down. He got his food. Means his calories are going to go up. I never noticed before that eating means he gains 30,000 calories per cycle. It doesn't mean he gains 30,000 calories. It's just because it is a buff that does that. So since he's finished with eating, he's finished with the bathroom, he's going to go back to working before he goes to bed because he's got nothing else to do. Alright, so it looks like he's going to be fine. His radiation's great, his food's great. We have quite a bit of time before he's going to have any problem. So while we have our astronaut Garfield in space, getting us more data bank, we have set up our virtual planetarium, and Polk, our new researcher, is currently using the data banks that we have. They're actually all stored in here now, and processing data analysis research for our next research task, which is hydrocarbon propulsion, so that we can build a small petroleum engine and a mission control station. So the mission control station I have not used before. It says it needs a clear line of sight to space in order to function, so I'm assuming that it has to do with controlling the rockets that are in orbit. So we'll build that, see how that goes. After this research is done, we're going to move on and research this one as well so that we can get the large petroleum engine. I kind of want to try the small petroleum engine just to see how it works and not jump straight to the petroleum engine, just because I think that would be fun. So I think after we're done with this research, we're going to try to build a small petroleum rocket. We might start getting it set up for us to do that now. We also have rad bolt engines, which I've never used, which we're gonna try too, and same with the radiation refinement stuff. We want to unlock this because we're going to try to learn how to do the uranium refinement on the other colony on Gorgani, and we're going to get access to our jetpacks, which will be helpful, and then a few other researches that are just great things to improve our colony. All kinds of things to try out. So we have a lot of research to finish before we're done with the entire research tree, but we're on our way to doing that. Having an issue with Garfield. I think that I just made a different calculation with him. So the orbital data collection lab, it looks like I was thinking that in order to run the orbital data collection lab, he'd have to have all the research skills. And that's why I gave him the skills. It looks like what really is that you just need this skill to run the virtual planetarium. So I can just send up a grunt pilot to operate the data bank creation. Problem is because he's only getting this amount of morale, he's at a high stress state right now. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to bring him back in to surface so that we can fix that, because I don't want him to start getting stressed out and causing problems. So we're going to change the destination from our rocket, bring it back in to land, so we can watch, and we'll be able to see very quickly. Here comes our rocket. Landing. Once it's landed, we'll expend our gantry. So what we want to do, let's go inside. These we want to sweep up, take them out. We'll refill everything inside the rocket, and we will... I think what we'll do is we'll set up a new pilot, and then we can work on... we can have Garfield staying on the surface and doing our data analysis. Then we'll have 2 data analyses. So what we need to do is find somebody who's going to be our new rocket pilot. I prefer to find somebody that has very few skills so far, or somebody that I can scrub. Let me take a look. In order to get to rocket pilotry 2, all we need is rocket pilotry, and then the first stage is a research. So just for these 4. I think I'm going to take Van Buren, because they're set up as a critter rancher, and I don't need a critter rancher much anymore. I have several of them. Maybe not. Let me think about this. Let's do Buchanan. No, can't do that one, because he can't learn these traits. How about Grant? That's one of our mechatronics engineers. I would like to keep it there. This is probably a good one. So let's take Hayes and scrub him. We're going to go to main colony. Do I have a skill scrubber set up in here? May have taken it down. Nope, I still have it. So we're going to scrub Hayes. And we'll get them set up to be our new rocket pilot. And in the meantime, while we're getting them set up, that means our rocket can get refueled and restocked with food. And ready to go. We do want to change it so that now that Garfield is done with his mission, let's take the rad pills off. That means nobody can use them right now. And the same with the pickled meal. I don't want him eating pickled meal while he's on the surface. We did finish our first research, so we're going to select a new one. Like I said, we're going to go right into improved hydrocarbon propulsion so that we can get the large petroleum in. Okay, so once I have Hayes set up as our new astronaut and I double check the checklist on the rocket, we'll put it back up into orbit and we'll get some more data banks made and finish some more research. Made a couple of design changes in our rocket from things I noticed during our last flight. One, I moved our oxyfern up a block. Does a couple of things. One, it means that now that I put this ladder here, people in our rocket are able to get up on top of here, then get to the ladder, and then get over here. So if they needed to do something over in this section, they could. The next thing I changed, and the other reason I moved the oxyfern up is because that means this oxyfern's not going to get rid of carbon dioxide unless it gets up to this level. Which means that over time, eventually, carbon dioxide is going to build up on these bottom 2 levels. Which is fine, because duplicate will be down here to do work, but they should still be okay to breathe. When they go to the bathroom, they should be fine. They'll be able to sleep in oxygen, be able to eat in oxygen, so they'll be fine up there. And eventually that means that this refrigerator will be in a sterile atmosphere. And so our food will last even longer. The next thing I changed is I added in a second refrigerator that's just for medicine. So now we can put in 100 rad pills. And we can keep filling this refrigerator with pickled meal. So you can see we're already up to 58,000 calories of pickled meal. If this gets full, we'll have 200,000 calories. I don't think I want that much because that's more than I need. So what I'm going to do is set this to 50 kilograms. So pickled meal is worth 1,800 calories. So if I set it to 50, that means we're going to have almost 100 calories of food, which means it'll be enough that it should last till we get through all the rad pills. In fact, We want 100. We actually want 56 kilograms. 55.5 repeating, technically. But 56 kilograms in this refrigerator. So if this gets filled up all the way full, we'll have enough for 100 days worth of food and 100 days worth of radiation. And our new pilot should be able to handle that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out here. We're going to change our crew because we swapped it out so that Garfield is no longer our pilot and now Hayes is our pilot. Let's go to skills. Let's give Hayes our rocket pilot helmet. And then we'll switch Garfield to a research helmet so we know that he's researching. And so I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to crew now. We're going to let Hayes come in. We need to change our destination. Once again, we're going to just go to orbit. Everything looks like everything's good. Let's take a pause real quick. I want to set Hayes to unequip his suit. So Hayes is boarded. It looks like we should be good to launch again. So let's do a launch sequence. Let's double check everything. We're all good to go. I'm gonna watch the rocket go off again and just enjoy watching them go into space. That's why I slow down the speed so I can watch it. Oh, once again, I forgot to open the gantry. Oh, we need to automate that for sure. There goes our rocket. And now we're back in orbit. Hayes is doing his thing. And if we check out the skills on Hayes, all Hayes has is rocket pilotry 2, astronomy, and advanced research. And he can make data banks for us. So his morale is not very high. He'll be able to stay in this rocket a long time without getting stressed. He has his radiation pills, he has his food. He'll be happy, happy, happy. And if we go back to our colony, we now have 2 researchers that are plugging away at all of our research, knocking everything out. Well, technically 3, because we have another one that's just able to do the regular researches. And we're just plugging away at that one. So when we come back in the next episode, we'll be finished with the research from these databanks, which we have quite a bit stored up. We're burning through them, but we're at, what are we at? We have 42 left. And, oh, actually, we need 250 to get to this one. So we're going to actually probably not be able to get to the petroleum engine, but we'll work on building our next rocket, which is going to be the small petroleum engine. And so I'm going to build a whole new rocket for that. And let's see, how do we want to do that? Let's put it on this side, because we're going to need space to put in our gantries and everything like that. We'll put up a ladder that goes like this. And then let's get our rocket gantries. Have this on the same level that I want it. Then we'll put it here. Basically, we want 4 spaces in between each one. And we'll go up a little higher because this rocket hopefully is going to become a much, much higher system. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this episode. We're going to let our data banks get made in between episodes and we'll get some research done. And in the next episode, we'll start working on a rocket. The goal is to make a rocket that can explore our star map. And so that's going to be the petroleum rocket. And once we get a petroleum rocket, we'll be able to go out and we'll be able to find a place where we can get everything we need to make super coolant, which is going to be a big game changer. But I hope you enjoyed watching it, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.